Wilfrid Laurier University in Waterloo, Ontario was in the news this week because a TA showed a clip from Steve Paikin's The Agenda, a government-funded TV Ontario current affairs show, to her communications class. Here's what happened.
At least one student complained about Shepard's use of the video, and she was accused of violating the university's gendered and sexual violence policy. She met with her supervisor and another professor where, among other things, her use of the video is compared to airing Nazi propaganda.
The culture of coddling and comforting students has gone too far.
Will the Prime Minister join me in condemning the egregious crackdown on free speech at Laurier University?
Intolerance and hate have no place in Canadian society or in our post-secondary institutions.
Sakes. Many archetypes roam the KafKanadian landscape, some inspiring, like the rugged, intrepid, and self-sufficient Coureur du Bois, and some disgusting, like the chicken-necked, effete, control-freak, pseudo-intellectual academic. Meet Doctors Nathan Rambukkana and Dr. Herbert Pimlott. Sometimes things are just too perfect. These KafKanadian commissars look like weirdos in the face of it. Rambukkana looks like some ogre from a cartoon version of the Bhagavad Gita, and Pimlott looks like an accountant for the SS. Luckily, Lindsay was wired for sound, and so while we can enjoy the goofiness of their external manifestations, we get to hear their real inner control freak ugliness.
Like, part of university is personal development, and that means becoming like a stronger person and challenging your beliefs and stuff, so.
Do you understand how what happened was contrary to, sorry, what was the policy? The gendered and sexual violence policy? Like, do you understand how?
But, sorry, what did I violate in that policy?
So, gender-based violence, transphobia in that policy, causing harm to trans students by...
Come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out, but you don't even know what you're talking about.
Framing their identity as invalid, or their pronouns as invalid.
Or something
potentially invalid.
So I caused harm.
Which is violence. Under the Ontario Human Rights Code, a protected thing, and also something that Laurier holds as a value.
Kind of process. These are very young students, and something of that nature is not appropriate to that age of student.
So, by proxy of me showing you the video, I'm transphobic and I caused harm and violence. So be it. I can't do anything to control that.
Okay, so that's not something that you have an issue with? The fact that that happened? Like,
this is such a great example of KafKanadian progressivism. Brute force methods of brainwashing, like the CIA-funded MKUltra mind control experiments conducted on students at McGill University in the 60s, have been abandoned, as far as we know, for far more subtle methods of mind control, like weaponized jargon and comfort language.
I remained very neutral, and
that's kind of the problem. Frankly, some of the things that we talked about are a little bit problematic, and we need to process them.
I would call it charlatanism. I think Jordan Peterson, and I know you're not a fan, but I think he actually shows a form of charlatanism when it comes to the academy.
Dr. Rambukkana's areas of academic expertise, if I can call them such, extend to digital intimacies, discourse analysis, public sphere theory, non-monogamies, privilege, and presumably sundry other made-up nonsense. This wealth of knowledge, I suppose, informed Rambukkana's analysis, where he compares Jordan Peterson, a U of T psychology professor, to Hitler.
But this is like neutrally playing a speech by Hitler.
And claims that Peterson is a purveyor of hate crimes against transgendered people under Bill C-16. The irony of ironies here is that Jordan Peterson, when agitating against Bill C-16, warned of this very sort of censorious behavior and was scoffed at by academia and the twits that make up KafKanadian punditry, like Tabitha Southey, a neurotic lunatic who wrote a hit piece on Peterson for Maclean's magazine. Do you listen to the Joe Rogan Experience? You probably have already heard of Tabitha Southey, but just didn't know what her name was. Whenever an example is needed of a crazy woman that you should never marry at any cost, Tabitha Southey is used as the premier example by Rogan.
You want to talk about a man who's been fucking kneed in the balls over and over again through divorce. It is horrible, man. Horrible what they did to him.
She used to be married to famous Canadian Kids in the Hall alumni David Foley and essentially try to ruin his life.
In a lot of ways, I don't think he ever recovered from that.
It's said that you can know a man by his enemies, and if people like Southey, Rambucana, and Pimlott are lining up against Jordan Peterson, you know he must be doing something right. It's fun to think about what an intellectual cage match between Rambucana and Jordan Peterson would look like. What's the tale of the tape? Let me give you a little example of what Rambucana is all about. From his website and talking about his research, he says, "It is situated disciplinarily at the nexus of communication and cultural studies, methodologically within the discourse analysis, and draws theoretical energy from a wide range of sources, such as feminist, queer, post-colonial, and critical race theories, semiotics, affect theory, event theory, and psychoanalysis." Meanwhile, Jordan Peterson's bio talks about the fact that he's been a dishwasher, a gas jockey, a bartender. He's lived life. He talks about how his work has been used in a clinical context to help people with schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, and essentially just trying to help people get their lives together. So Jordan Peterson certainly has proved his chops in the real world, whereas Rambucana seems to be dancing on the back of a unicorn in La La Land. We've come so far down this dark road that now it's almost impossible to tell the soulless meat robots from the feared futuristic AI overlords.
In a university, all perspectives are valid.
That's not necessarily true. And
I'm afraid I can't do that.
And in terms of the course of what we're trying to do is diametrically opposed to everything that we've been talking about in the lectures. Was this one of the reasons that you wanted to do this? Because it was like a reaction to the lecture content?
And I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
You send me your lesson plans before your classes, just so I can kind of have a quick look over them.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I'll ask you not to play any more Jordan Peterson videos or anything of the like.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
So what is going to be the end result of all of this? Of course, Rambucana and the university have been forced to apologize to Lindsay Shepherd. Lindsay's academic career is certainly in jeopardy because now she's been labeled as a troublemaker.
I was treated as like a scary monster.
She did manage to get away with something once. Now all of the academic chicken necks are on notice that they could be recorded. So what I see happening is a doubling down on what they're going to call confidentiality, where just to attend a simple meeting, you're going to have to surrender your devices and perhaps even sign non-disclosure agreements so that whatever fuckery they get up to behind closed doors won't be exposed as it was this time. We have to rail against this, folks. Confidentiality has its place. It certainly doesn't have its place when it's uncovering the kind of social control and bullying that's going on at Wilfrid Laurier University.